we have to assign only from the certain workstation that the server can get access. It's easier said than done, really, because if you have thousands of servers, how the administrator remember password for each of them?
That's a very good point, right? So key thing here is must do your vulnerability scans regularly. You must ensure there's a differentiate between service accounts and user interactive accounts, right? Obviously, for applications that is running for accessing information on database, you should be using service account, and no login is allowed for that account, right? So I think this is a very good point made by Agus. Pratama, do you have anything you want to add? You're holding the mic very...
So I put the mic.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's very, I think, bad in Indonesia. We do some tests with some legal access, some illegal access, but almost legal access. And we found that in the government system and the private system has many vulnerable. And it's like, it's very easy to hack some system. And Mr. Budiman, here in Indonesia, we know a trend about the financial technology solution. We have more or less 100 that legal fintech in Indonesia, and we have more than 1,000 illegal fintech in Indonesia.
Wow.
And if the audience know, if you use LinkedIn, Bang Amri, maybe someone know, he do a lot of like a penetration test, and I saw it by myself. It's hundreds of thousands credentials grabbed by him. It's crazy. And in Indonesia, if you some credential, you can use this credential to another application, another system. So if you grab this credential, this data from illegal fintech, and you can use this data, most of them, to log into the big e-commerce application in Indonesia, and we can do the transaction upon it. So it's very crazy,
Yeah.
Why it happened? Why it happened? Because the government, we call it OJK, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, don't have ability to, make a technology audit to the application, and plus the financial technology company don't know a lot about the IT security. And the bad thing is the illegal financial technology company, they don't care about the IT security. So it's easy. You can get the national ID from that. You can get the picture of the user and customer. You can get telephone number. You can get email. You can get password. You can get anything. How? And it happened now. Still happen. So I think this is the problem. And I think the audience here will realize that we need to test our system, periodically, to know that how weak our system, how weak, our security. So, like the speaker before, the security is not like okay, we do buy the solution, install it, and done. No, it's every day, every minute, every second process. So I think we need to realize that.
Just one thought. Maybe I'll ask a question to the audience. Just to check if they're awake.
Yeah.
How many IT administrators are here? People who help, say in an office of 30 people, there would be IT administrators, right? People who help people if there's a problem with the machine. Don't be shy.
Put up your hand. Come on. Maybe I should ask one more question.
Yeah.
How many of you are humans? Only one, two, three, four. Okay.
Right. And the reason I ask this is because in say your office, like let's say you've got an office of 30, 40 people, right? And there is one guy who's your IT administrator. That IT administrator's password is the same on all the 30 machines.
Yes.
That's the big thing. So now what happens is, here is how I will do the attack. I will just attack one user, like let's say Lucy. I attack her machine, and then due to some vulnerability, I'm able to get control of her. I do not know if you guys are familiar with Mimikatz kind of attack, but I do an attack on that machine. I do a credential dump, right? So when I do a credential dump, the administrator's password, if the administrator has ever logged on to Lucy's machine, like I would get a dump of the administrator's password. But this is a hash, okay? This is not the clear text password because in the LSAS, the passwords are stored in a hash session. There is a Microsoft functionality called pass the hash, okay? It was there years back. Hackers have now started using that. So from Lucy's machine, if I have to go to John's machine, I use the pass the hash because the administrator's hash is the same on John's machine. So now I will hop on to John's machine. Then I will jump on to Harry's machine. Then I will jump on to Sam's machine. Hey, and by the way, Sam is a domain administrator. When I get onto Sam's machine, and when I do a dump on Sam's machine, I get Sam's hash. So now I can do two things. I have Sam's hash. I can always do a brute force and try to see this is a domain administrator's password. It's everything in your organization. This is how an attack happens where you can get hold of a domain administrator's password. The mitigation for this is many. I would say two things. What August referred earlier is our Windows machine. The first machine which I hacked was because of a vulnerability on the machine, right? I was able to do privilege escalation. So make sure you're at least doing basic things like patching the Windows machines. Very, very important. That's one part of it. And the second thing is what I told you earlier regarding the two-factor password. It's like your bank password, right? People may know your bank password, but if there is an OTP, they cannot get to your bank. So while they got hold of Sam's password, right? Because the OTP will come to Sam on his mobile, we are still protected. So I would say these are the two things that we got to watch for, in such kind of attacks.
Yeah, that's a very good point, right? Just in case, do you all know about the pass the hash type of attacks?
Yeah.
So eventually, if you made it to the domain controller, you can get the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Right? And you win already. Okay? So if you are not sure about this attack, I recommend you all to go and read it up. It's still happening, right? And you probably will want to look into that and do something about it.
In fact, most of the red team exercise that organizations would do, they would use this attack. Pass the hash is one of the most, and very simple also. Very, very simple to execute.
Yeah. Very good. So, okay. Now we've talked to this point already. How many are still awake? Alright, yeah, we still have one last question. So now with all of these attacks, and then we talk about controls, what we should do, right? How do you think that a PAM solution will help in this case?
Okay, as I said, that there is a challenge if we have unique password for each servers. If we only have one server, it's okay. 10 servers, maybe okay. But thousands of servers, let's manage.
Yes.
So the PAM coming into the picture means that the PAM will do this for us. Means that we don't have to care about how to change the password. The PAM will do for ourselves. So that's one of the benefit of the PAM to address that challenge that I mentioned.
Yeah, but what about just then the case where Venkat, you were saying Sam is the domain administrator, right? Yeah.
So I would say that Buddhiman, I want to break this the benefits of a PAM into three broad buckets.
Sure.
One of them is what we initially started the discussion with is regarding auditing. I do not know if you guys are familiar with PAM solutions. But think about it this way, PAM is like a big jump box through which everybody goes. So like August was mentioning, you do not have to log on to 1,000 servers independently. You log on to the PAM box. Actually, there will be a portal, and then it will tell you that Venkatesh has got access to these 10 servers, and these are the roles that he has to access these servers. You click on these servers, and then you go directly to those servers through the PAM gateway solution. Now, one of the things that PAM provides, and all the PAM providers usually provide, is command line audit logging. So tomorrow, when your auditor comes back and asks you, okay, 3 months back, who are the people who logged on to this solution, you actually will be able to produce command line in a centralized fashion. You do not have to worry about what server 1 is logging or server 2 is logging, because all the logging is going to be done by the PAM solution. So that is one benefit from an auditing perspective. The other bucket is from a security perspective. So in security, for example, I can say that Venkatesh should not be logging on to this server at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? I want to put that rule. So what I can do is in PAM itself, because I can integrate my PAM solution with what is called an SIEM solution, which is used for correlation and alerting. You can put a rule in there saying that I can basically so this is called privileged access, abnormal activity, right? Normally Venkatesh never logs in at 3 a.m. in the morning. So unless and you can specify everything. You can know that there is a change window from Friday through Sunday, fine, remove that. So during the weekdays at between 12 and 8 a.m. in the morning, Venkatesh should not be logging on to, or give me an alert. So that you can now do through the SIM solution, through the alerting mechanism. And the other thing which I mentioned earlier is also the PAM itself provides multi-factor authentication. So that is why you can use the PAM solutions also to integrate your multi-factor authentication. And there are a lot of good solutions for example CyberArk and some of the industry standard products. You have a good workflow also for operational convenience. How to provision administrators, what is the workflow for approvals, how do you deprovision. So a lot of convenience is there regarding this operational workflow when you're actually creating it. So I would broadly in these 3 areas, I think PAMs are wonderful solutions. I have used it multiple times in all my organizations. The moment I come into an organization, I always make sure that the organization has a PAM solution.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So last question, right? We're gonna end this. Is so when all of you have implemented PAM, right? So are there challenges that you face when you are implementing a PAM solution, and how do you overcome them?
Okay, there are 2 challenges actually from the technical perspective and from non-technical perspective. From the technical perspective, that in my case is we have a very start of the platform. Linux, even the Linux, we have CentOS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, AIX, database, we have Postgre, MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle, you name it. So the challenge is actually to implement the PAM, so to implement that compatible with that platform, various platform.
Yeah.
Right? So this is very important when we're choosing the PAM, that we have to consider our platform and the overall roadmap of our PAM program. Yeah. The other challenge is actually to the administrator itself. There is a resistance from the administrator when we introduce the PAM. Seems that they have a competitor. One competitor says, yeah, who the hell you are? I'm the administrator. So you wanna monitor us? You wanna manage us? There is a resistance from the administrator itself when we introduce the PAM. So we have to do kind of the social awareness,
Change management.
We have to have a session with them, telling what the PAM is, how the PAM works,
Educating
and the benefit of the PAM. We have to stress the benefit. One of the benefits is they don't have to care about password anymore. And is to back up them when there is an incident happen. So we can show that if they do anything when the incident happen, then we can provide them with the the audit trail on the PAM system. So,
Okay, good.
PAM
Yeah.
is one of the solutions to secure the privilege. Actually, if you think that you have the system that have vulnerability, that there is an authorized privilege access, or pass the hash, or spear phishing, or maybe Kerberos compromise, I think you need PAMs, because first the goal you can reestablish control that your maybe Active Directory from the malicious attack, and the second you can prevent your credential as be stolen.
And so 3 is a good number, so I'll give 3 challenges. The first one I've noticed like in my PAM implementation, and it's not really technical, it's more around the process. See, when you're trying to migrate the 1,000 administrators onto the PAM solution, right? The important thing is that you have to make sure that they have the minimum permissions. So there is an activity in which, say there is a guy who is a backup administrator, right? His job is to do backups. But if you look at a backup administrator, he's got all the permissions. He can do registry changes, this, that, and all.
Yeah.
So there is a great opportunity when you're implementing the PAM to analyze these different administrator access. And when you're porting them over to the PAM, you have to make sure that it's the minimum set of permissions.
Privilege.
So the challenge there is that it's a little bit of a hard work you want to quickly implement a solution, but the challenge is to find out what are these different roles, etc. What is the minimum permission because if you take garbage out and then you put the garbage into PAM, then it's going to be still garbage, right? So I think that activity, that process takes a lot of time. So while you have procured the PAM solution, this exercise itself could take you about 2 to 3 months if you do it properly. But I strongly advise, if you guys are going to implement the solution, to do due diligence to this. That could be a little tricky to do. The other challenge which I have normally faced is what just August referred to is this administrators, right? They suddenly feel, what is this PAM solution? What is that? I had this access. So we tell okay, I'm going to take your ID from the server and I'm going to put it onto the PAM solution, right? You go through the PAM. But you have to delete the ID from the server, right? Because even if the PAM solution is there, he could directly go into the server. So there are 2 options you have. Either you have to delete the ID on the server, or you have to make sure through a firewall that only the server can be accessed from PAM. That is the only 2 choices you have. So sometimes this choice of the firewall is a little tricky because there are jump servers and there are a lot of backdoors. To clean up the server administrator IDs on the server itself is a challenge because that provides a backdoor. So I think that's another thing more of a process the culture in the organization that you bring across. And finally, my last thing is regarding application integration. PAM solutions like CyberArk and other products, excellent in Windows Server, Linux servers, because they are all infrastructure devices. But when you're talking about an application, right, you've got some custom application for your portal or something like that. These applications would have their own password change management processes, right? So what CyberArk would tell you is that, okay, you give me an API web service call if you can consume, I can call that. But a lot of these legacy applications, they do not have this capability to ingest a PAM call. Yeah. So very difficult and tricky sometimes to integrate applications into the PAM solution. But I would say that you should still make an effort, at least for your critical applications. You should work with the application team, ask them to expose the APIs so that the PAM, because why is it is required is because password change, right? Yes, see, the application was changing password. Now PAM will change the password. Nobody, the administrator will not know the password. Every 45 days, PAM will change the password. But how will PAM change the password? Because it has to call the application API. So the application has to present that API, wherein you have to work with the application teams to present that API. I have found this a little tricky, but try to do this at least for your top crown jewel applications. It's my suggestion. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think right now, can we take one question from the floor? Okay, I'm only given one question, right? So I'm opening this to the floor. Any one of you have any question? Only one for our panelists. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, if not, maybe I'll have one last question from you all. So let's see if you all participate, right? Put up your hand if you learned something from this today. More people now awake. Very good. Okay, I think with that, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. And thank you so much for your attendance. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much to all the panelists for the very insightful discussion. I request to please hand over the momentum to our speakers. First of all, to Mr. Agus Prajoyo, Deputy Security Lead Smart Friend. To Mr. Venkatesh Subramaniam, Global CISO Olam International. Last but not least, Mr. Pratama, Chairman of Communication and Information Systems Security Research Center. I would also like to call upon Mr. Sudhir Jana, Director of TreeCast, to hand the memento to our moderators.
You also get it.
Oh yeah, I get one too. Yay!
Let's give it up for our panelists, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Hey, do you want to take a picture here? Man, with these panelists moderating is easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on. For ISO 119, 4-point laser in enterprise identity governance, brings power of identity, in identity platform, gives organizations the power to enter new markets, scale their workforces, embrace new